Hello everyone, I'm Rodney Santana. I'm gonna be doing a poetry project analyzing Victor Hernandez Cruz poems. First of all, I want to talk about what is a poem analysis. Poetry analysis requires the reader to deeply investigate diverse components of a poem in order to genuinely understand the author's message and purpose. Poetry analysis is the process of investigating a poem's form, content, structural semiotics, and history in an informed way, with the aim of heightening one's own and others' understanding and appreciation of the work. Who was Victor Hernandez Cruz? He was born on February 6, 1949 in Aguas Buenas, Puerto Rico. In 1954, when he was only 5 years old, Victor and his family moved to Spanish Harlem town in New York, United States. His first experience learning English language was by means of a television bought by his family. Eventually, he became fluent in English and Spanish. Continuation about Victor Hernandez Cruz. At 17, Hernandez Cruz self-published his first book, Papo Got His Gun, and other poems. He has received fellowship from the Guggenheim Foundation and the National Endowment for the Arts. What motivated Victor Hernandez Cruz to write poems? Well, his poems are related to music, immigrant experience, New York, and Puerto Rican history. His poems are culturally rich and linguistically concerned to Indo-Afro-Hispanic heritage. Cruz is fascinated with the idea of civilizations coming into other civilizations and world unity. He feels inspired by his culture and life experiences. The first poem that I would like to talk about is Problem with Hurricanes by Victor Hernandez Cruz, of course. A campesino looked at the air and told me, with hurricanes it's not the wind, or the noise, or the water. I will tell you, he said. It's the mangoes, avocados, green plantains, and bananas, flying to the town like projectiles. How would your family feel if they have to tell the generation that you got killed by a flying banana? Death by drowning has honor. If the wind pick you up and slam you against a mountain border, this will not carry shame. But to suffer a mango smashing your skull or a plantain hitting your temple at 70 miles per hour is the ultimate disgrace. The campesino takes off his hat as a sign of respect toward the fury of the wind and says, don't worry about the noise. Don't worry about the water. Don't worry about the wind. If you're going out, be aware of mangoes and all such beautiful, sweet things. So in this poem, Problem with Hurricane is told by a campesino. A campesino is a farmer. It is a person that has a close working relationship with the earth. Moreover, a campesino knows all the dangers and bounties of nature. A campesino is typically a person who has little or none formal education. However, his wisdom comes handy when dealing with daily life matters. The poem develops between two characters, the campesino and another person who very likely could be an outsider, a person who is not acquainted with the campesino lifestyles. The campesino tries to explain how simple and beneficial objects such as fruit can become deadly weapons during a hurricane. Hurricanes are a natural phenomenon that typically occurs in the author's country of origin, Puerto Rico. However, this weather event is not a frequent incident in his new dwelling, New York. Consequently, the author uses the campesino to explain the peculiarities of such experience. The poem's tone is entertaining and funny. The conversation among the campesino and other characters is almost a monologue where the main speaker is the campesino. Despite the fact that the title of a poem implies serious circumstances, the author managed to detach the narrative of the campesino from catastrophic events by using comical expressions. Among the most noticeable poem's themes are multicultural awareness and immigrant distinctive way of life. Before I start discussing the poem by Poetic Device, I want to show you guys a video.
The campesino looked at the air and told me, "With hurricanes, it is not the wind, or the noise, or the water. I tell you," he said, "it's the mangoes, avocados, green plantains, and bananas flying into the town like projectiles. How would your family feel if they had to tell the generations that you got killed by a flying banana? Death by drowning has its honor. If the wind picked you up and slammed you against the mountain boulder, this would not carry shame, but you suffer a mango smashing your skull or a plantain hitting your temple at 70 miles per hour. It's the ultimate disgrace." And Campesino took off his hat as a sign of respect towards the fury of the wind and says, "Don't worry about the noise. Don't worry about the water. Don't worry about the wind. If you are going out, beware of mangoes and all such beautiful, sweet things."
So that video is what actually motivated me to discuss this poem from Victor Hernandez Cruz. It was so funny that I just had to choose this poem. But continuing, sorry. So one poetic device that we can see in this specifically poem from Victor Hernandez Cruz is the hyperbole. And in this stanza it says, "I will tell you," he said, "it's the mangoes, avocados, green plantains, and bananas flying into town like projectiles." Hernandez Cruz makes exaggerated statements about mangoes, avocados, green plantains, and bananas. He wants to clearly convey the extreme transformation that an innocent and harmless fruit goes through during the event of a hurricane. Most people are scared of the wind and rain that develop as a consequence of a natural event of such force. However, the authors bring to the attention a situation that is mostly ignored even by locals. The hyperbole about the fruit helps the reader to understand the magnitude of the problem that a flying fruit poses during the natural event. Moreover, the hyperbole shows an ambiguous picture of the hazard that the hurricane brings. Another poetic device that we can see in this poem is personification. And this stanza said, "If the wind picked you up and slammed you against a mountain boulder, this would not carry shame." Hernandez Cruz gives human attributes to the hurricane wind when he states that the wind will pick you up and slam you. The reason to use personification is to help the reader understand the scale of damage that the wind can cause. He compares the wind to a strong person who could knock you out like a giant by carrying you away. This figure of speech helps the reader who is not familiar with hurricanes to create a mental picture of the devastation that occurs. A third poetic device that we can see in this poem is imagery. And the next stanza reads, "But to suffer a mango smashing your skull, or a plantain hitting your temple at 70 miles per hour, is the ultimate disgrace." Hernandez Cruz provides specific details in the poem that appeals to the senses. The mental picture of a mango smashing your skull is awful, but at the same time hard to believe. The author takes advantage of the reader's imagination to expose him to an unfamiliar experience. The author takes advantage of his multicultural background to intertwine life experiences that, despite being a tragic matter for Icelanders, might be weird for mainland inhabitants. The second poem that I would like to discuss is The Red Beans, of course, by Victor Hernandez Cruz. Next to white rice, it looked like Crow, sitting next to snow. Hero of Statch bordered the bored sienna of irony. Azucena's been chased by the terracotta feather of a rooster. There is a lava flow through the smoking white mounds. India red spews of ivory. Ochre cannonballs falling next to blank pebbles. Red beans and milk make burgundy wine. Violet pouring from the eggshell tingle of the plate. So, in analyzing on this poem, plain white rice and beans are not only an essential part of the Puerto Rican cuisine, but also the only food in many humble dinners. These meal components are different from the components of the mainland plate. Hernandez Cruz called attention to a particular and important aspect of Caribbean culture, food. The reader might not know the importance of such dish until he reads the poet's description. Despite the simplicity of the main theme, the author goes to his utmost potential in order to describe in detail the experience of eating rice and beans. So one poetic device that we can see in this peculiar poem is imagery. And the stanza reads, next to white rice, it looks like a wall, sitting next to snow. There is lava flow through the smoking white mounds. Hernandez Cruz provides detailed description of the traditional rice and red beans Puerto Rican plate. He appeals to the reader's senses, for example, and use of imaginary in this line, next to the white rice, it looks like a roll. This image immediately brings to the reader's mind the bright red color in contrast to the white background. Moreover, he continues explaining that the red beans are a lava flowed through the smoking white mounds, in order to show that the plate is scorching hot and abundant portions are served. The imaginary is detailed, precise, specific. The whole poem is filled with well-defined imaginary tempting the reader's taste, sight, smell, and touch. Another poetic devices that we can see in this poem is metaphor and hyperbole. Ochre cannonballs falling next to the blank pebbles. Hernandez Cruz compares the red beans to ochre cannonballs and the rice to blank pebbles. This metaphor helps the reader to compare the size proportion among the rice and the red beans. Moreover, it facilitates the reader's perception of the texture and hardness of the rice and beans. Hernandez Cruz tends to exaggerate in his description of the red bean size. However, this hyperbole is excellent in order to transmit the way food looks in the plate. Once again, the poet promotes his bicultural heritage by melting both cultures into one. Hernandez Cruz not only emphasizes through this poem that he and many people around are a mixture of tradition and ethnicity, but also that every aspect of a human being is valuable. In conclusion, Victor Hernandez Cruz is a poet that showed his ability to write poetry from a very young age. Through his poetry, the reader can perceive the peculiarities of living among two cultures. He shows pride in his bicultural heritage. Hernandez Cruz shows through his poem that humans are holistic beings that should value each other's component of life and fuse life experiences. Finally, his poem shows that different cultures are not exclusive of each other. Moreover, cultures are interconnected. That concludes my project. Thank you.